Let's talk about the Carousel tool in 90-second website builder. Welcome to video number 17 in the Quick Start video series. I'm Greg Hughes. The Carousel tool is a great tool to work with. It's got a lot of versatility and it's kind of fun. Before I show you how to use that tool, let me show you some examples of where I've used it. Go to my website. And at the 90-second website builder website, you can see I've got a carousel tool on several pages. The testimonials page, I use it right here as a carousel. And I just basically have and a carousel, by the way, is just kind of a slider, if you're not familiar. There, you just saw it slide. And I just have a carousel or a slider full of text. Each page, it's called, can have text objects, image objects, even videos in them. And in this particular case, I've just used text to show some testimonials for the product. And you can see there's a couple little arrows here so that people can click the arrows and move forward or back. And you'll also notice that it was just changing on its own. I wasn't clicking anything because it's on a timer, and that the interval for that timer we can set. I'll show you how to do that. But this is a real simple example of how to use the carousel tool to display objects, in this case text. You can also use it for other objects. So let's see, I've got one over here on the features page where I show some features of the software. Again, here's some text and images. And again, there's the little arrows we could click through. And you can see that I've just basically used this in a simple way. Now what's behind it here is this is just a box, like a layer or a shape or some kind of an image, and I've set the carousel on top of it. I'm using a transparent carousel, so all you see is the content inside, and I've decided to show the little arrows, which is another thing you can choose to do or not do. And so you can see it's real simple. So there's a lot of things you can do with the carousel tool. Let me go to the bottom of the page to show you. I've got another example down here where I've actually placed a transparent carousel on top of a background. This sort of charcoal box here is a shape that I've set the carousel on. I've also put a background inside one of the pages here. You can see this is a background image inside. I've also shown the little page buttons. If you click on these, you can actually go to a particular page. Right now it's on this page, or you can click the arrow to go to that page. As you can see, we can go like this and go from page to page. Again, these are optional. You don't have to show these. Sometimes it's nice for people to be able to bounce around from page to page, depending on what you're trying to do with your carousel tool. So those are just a few things. Now that you see what it looks like, let's go make one. We're going to use our demonstration magic trick website here. I'm going to go to the card tricks page right here. I've got a big blank spot where we can put a carousel. So I'm going to grab the tool from the toolbox. It's over here under the advanced tools, although it's not very hard to use. So just going to drag a box, and another thing is this can be any size we want it to be. You can see we start off with a transparent carousel that's got 4 pages. All this is changeable, but it can be small, it can be huge, it can be skinny and long, or it can be tall like this. So whatever you want. I'll just make one about like this, and we'll mess around with it. And let's look inside. So if I double click, here are the properties for the carousel. Number of pages, it defaults to 4, but I can have anywhere from 1 to 25 pages just by clicking these numbers. The pause time in between changes is 3,000. The higher the number, the longer that pause time, I should say. The duration of the change, the animation it's called, can be set here. Which page we start on would be set here. Even the way the page changes, the animation, the way it changes can be adjusted right here. It's called easing. Now the difference between these is very, very subtle, and I won't go through these obviously, but you can play with these. So in other words, you could add a little bit of a bounce when it changes to the next slide or to the next page. It's just a slight bounce. You can add that. But again, these are very subtle differences. Also, when the slides change, you have the option of just going from one slide to the next until it gets to the end, and then it rewinds back to the first page. But you don't have to do that. You can go the other direction. You can have it go backwards, or you can have it go forward, then go backwards. So kind of alternates. A good one is the circular, where it goes forward, and then when it gets to the last page, the next slide is page 1. So it just kind of goes in an infinite loop. And again, you could do it the other direction too. So it's kind of an important setting. That's called the mode. I like to use the forward circular one a lot. Sometimes I just leave it on forward and then you can see it just sort of rewinds. But this is a good one here. Also, you can enable those navigation buttons. That's these previous and next arrows. These are the default images that the carousel comes with, but you can use any image you want. If you prefer to have an arrow that you've got a better image for, then you would click here and you would find that image. So, for example, let's see. I'll use the next button because this is going the right direction. If I wanted to do this and have my image be an arrow like that, you can see that's what my next button's going to look like. So that makes it really customizable. And but for now, for this demonstration, I'll just use the default. So if I leave this empty, it will pick up the default buttons. So now I have that one. Also, I can adjust the margin. That is how many pixels in these buttons are. So right now, this button is 4 pixels in from the edge of the carousel. By increasing this number, I move them in a little bit, as you can see. Okay. Another setting is the pagination. That's what these little buttons are here. I can make them go away. If you don't want to show them, you don't have to. If you are going to show them, you can decide what color they are. So right now they're white with a black border, as you can see. I can change all of that, obviously. I can make them that color with that kind of a border. And I can change the size. We'll make them big here so you can see the difference. And I can change the padding. That is how far apart they are. So if I click this, you can see I've changed my pagination buttons to whatever I want. And we haven't got to the style yet. So a lot of things here are customizable. The style allows me to decide how I want the background to be. So I normally use a transparent one, as you saw in my demonstration at 90-Second Website Builder. So I can just set my carousel on top of the page and the background is whatever the background is. But you can have a solid color. You could put an image in the background. You could make a gradient background. So if we wanted to go sort of from a white to a light gray and gradiate this direction, we'll go linear up, go like this. You can see it picks up a background now. That's a bit of a gradient. Also under the Style tab, we can put a border. That border can be rounded. That's called radius. It can be any width we want and any color we want. So I won't do all that for now. I'm just going to go with a transparent, and we'll leave all these default settings for now. I'll just leave the pagination like that for the sake of time. And so you can see I have a carousel that's ready to have content put into it. It's a 4-page carousel. And so let's just start putting some stuff in it. Now this is a page where I have some magic tricks, some card tricks. So I'll take an image and I'm gonna just paste the image right here. When you drag an object into the carousel, you can see that it highlights. This is really important because until I get that blue highlight, the object is not inside the carousel. So in other words, just putting it right here will not work. It is not inside the carousel. It has to be like this, where it highlights. So now I'm inside the content area. Now I've placed this object on page 1 of the carousel. How do I know that? Well, I can look down here and see where I'm at. Because even in design mode, you can change from page to page here, like this. So I'm going to go to this page and put another image. Let me go get an image here. Okay, just kind of copied and pasted some random image. Now this image is really big, so it's not going to fit inside my carousel. It's bigger than the carousel itself. I need to either shrink it down or make my carousel larger. I'm going to go ahead and just make it a little bit smaller and put it right here. Okay, so you can see this is really easy to do. I can put this wherever I want. I might move it over here, leave room for text. Another thing I can put in my carousel, though, and this is kind of important, is say a video. So I happen to have a video object over here. And again, it's bigger than my carousel. Let me make my carousel a little bit bigger, like this. So here my video now sits inside, and this is kind of interesting because you can control a video from inside a carousel, which means it can just appear when you get to that page. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to hit F5, and we've got page 1, page 2. Let's go to page 3, and here's my video where I can have my user click play and watch a video of a card trick. Now once the video is going, it will keep going until they stop it. Even if they go to a different page, that video is still playing in the background. So the user can stop the video and move on. But it's kind of a nice way to display video. If you wanted to have a website with several, a web page with several videos, be kind of a nice way to store them and save some space, at least visually. It would make your website have a lot of files on it, but a lot of video files on one page, but that's okay. It'd be a great way to save some space. So the carousel tool is just a very creative way to display objects, and you can be as creative as you want to. Again, you can put images, text, other objects, shapes, whatever you want. Get creative with it. One more thing about the carousel tool very few people know about is that it is mobile friendly. Well, what does that mean? That means if you make a mobile website or a website for a tablet, your user can actually change the page on the carousel with their finger by simply flipping it like you would a page turn, which is really, really handy. In other words, it's responsive to a finger on a mobile device like an iPad or a mobile phone, a smartphone. So that's another great feature of the carousel tool. But anyway, have fun with it. You can do all kinds of creative things with it, and you can have as many, again, as 25 pages filled with content to make your website look great using this great tool in 90 Second Website Builder.